Okay. Everybody ready? Okay, 8 o'clock. Hi, everyone. Okay, calling to order Monday, October 11th, 2021, regular public meeting. The board president's announcement. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the rights of the public to have advance notice of and to attend meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the business administrator/board secretary has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-8B and guidance from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs, Division of Local Government Services. In addition, please be aware that the employees of the district retain the right of privacy and shall retain all rights regarding defamation and slander according to the laws of New Jersey. The board shall not be held liable for comments made by the members of the public, and in order to protect the privacy rights of employees in the district, the board shall not respond to statements made by the public of or about district employees. Angela?
Larry. Mr. Carolyn.
Here.
Ms. Farrow.
Here.
Ms. King.
Here.
Mr. Kinney.
Here.
Mr. Sededicato.
Here.
Ms. Sullivan.
Here.
Ms. LaForgia.
Here. Okay. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance, I think we moved it, it's over here.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming out this evening. We're gonna go straight to the student board reps who I've just met. I don't know, last time I wasn't here, but you were switching off. Do you anybody wanna go first? Renee, Lizzie, as I've been granted?
I think it's me this time.
Okay, thank you.
So hi everybody. So I'm gonna first start off with sports. So football is 6-0. We just had our pink out last Friday, and next week we have a game away against Wayne Hills, and it's gonna be a whiteout. Boys soccer is 10-0. Last week they started the Bergen County tournament, which they're seeded first, and they have a home game tomorrow against Paramus. Girls soccer is also 10-0. They've also started the Bergen County tournament and are also seeded first, and their next game is also tomorrow away against Paramus. Volleyball 7-4. They have a game tonight against Paramus. Also, freshman volleyball won the Bergen County Freshman Championship. Cross country, they're preparing for their league and county championships that are all coming up this week. Tennis is 13-2. They won their league and are in the state sectional finals, and they're playing that tomorrow against Tenafly. For clubs, winter sport forms are due. Film club is watching the horror film Pulse this week. Freshman class council is having elections. Many clubs are also meeting this week, like Ramapo Runway, Environmental Club, Photography Club, Robotics, Stock Market Club, and Debate Team. Amnesty is selling blow pops for $1 this week. Seniors also got their senior shirts this week. SAD and TNT sponsored the Week of Respect last week, and then the RIH Fundamentals of Wellness and Mindfulness class hosted a wellness apparel store. The Video Game Club meets every Friday. Holiday Festival is also looking for people to perform How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which is the best Christmas movie. I love that movie, I'm gonna be honest. And the class of 2023 is sponsoring Outdoor Movie Night, which is gonna be on October 28th. For guidance, anybody that registered for the PSATs this Saturday should go to guidance to pick up their student guide and practice materials. And community service fair went well, and thank you guidance for hosting that. For student government, last week we sold pink hair extensions for the pink out at the football game, and we were able to raise over $300 that's gonna be donated to breast cancer awareness. We're also gonna celebrate Halloween on October 29th, and we're preparing for our bonfire on November 12th. Thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie. Renee?
Okay, so me next. So also jumping right into sports, our football team, our boys varsity football team won against Dwight Morrow this Friday night. We got to celebrate senior night with great performances from the band and cheer squad, as well as a win. So the turnout was incredible. I could speak from firsthand experience. There was barely room to move in the student section. You could see photos and more at our official Instagram page, IHHS Roll Tribe. Next, we hosted our fall pep rally on October 1st outside of Hank Boggio football field. It was a tremendous success with events such as a 3-legged race, obstacle course, and the borrowed pie eating contest. Next, the class of 2022 is selling chocolates to help fundraise for prom. Get 1 chocolate for $2 or 2 for $3. Then our Indian Hills Interact Club, their October happenings. So return to school. Interact had its 4th in-person meeting with over 80 members in attendance. Members worked in different classrooms on a series of service-related projects. Interact service meetings are held every Thursday from 3:15 to 4:15 p.m., and new members are always welcomed. Then they have the Buddy Walk. Interact opened October with the Buddy Walk. Interact volunteers set up an obstacle course for children and coordinated arts and crafts activities for the children that attended this event. The Ridge Crest Cleanup Day and mum planting is coming up, so Interact volunteers will be helping with the Ridge Crest Cleanup Day on Saturday, October 16th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., and everyone is free to sign up. There's the Alzheimer's Run/Walk. So Interact will also be assisting with the Alzheimer's Walk at the Bergen Community College towards the end of October, so around Sunday, October 24th. Members will be assisting setup, registration, crafts, directing, and cheering on participants on the course, and of course are welcome to participate. The Harvest Festival is coming up. So Interact is working with Ridgecrest to create a Harvest Festival for the residents and their family to be held on October 30th, so the day before Halloween. And just as a reminder, please encourage your son or daughter to join the Interact Club at their respective schools, so both schools have one. For guidance, on Friday, the service dogs visited our high school during our lunch periods. The handlers were amazing and answered all of our questions about how service animals train, plus we got to pet some of the gorgeous dogs. Next, National Honor Society is welcoming its new inductees at our fall ceremony on October 25th. Parents and family are encouraged to come celebrate this huge honor and support their students. And lastly, World Language Honor Society has just emailed its new inductees. Please feel free to apply and reach out with any questions. And that's all I got.
Thank you so much, Renee and Lizzie. And as always, you can stay, and of course, you could leave at any time. Thanks for your report. All right. Board President's report, I have a few things, if you could bear with me. First, just a public announcement. If you need accommodations for the OE and mask, please sit on that side. Sit in the back section. Also, if you're videotaping or taking pictures, please sit on the front row of the left side section. Okay, thank you. All right, so a few things. I'm going to start out with, I will not be addressing any past issues that I deem negative towards the board or me. I've made my peace, and I will need to move on, and we all need to move on. I will also address my masking by saying I am wearing a mask tonight in support of all the students and faculties that must endure it for the many hours under the EO. But I want everybody to be aware that I'm wearing it under duress because I have asthma, I have a deviated septum, I have autism, I may have difficulty breathing, I may have auditory processing challenges, I may need to read lips and facial reactions, I may have PTSD, I may have a brain injury, I may have been violently gagged and sexually assaulted in my past. Nevertheless, I will remove my mask, as did the governor, Phil Murphy, on 5/17, at his announcement of the EO. I will also be taking numerous mask breaks, and as you can see, I have arranged tonight's dais to see and hear the crowd better. Okay, 2, regarding my absences, thank you for everyone reaching out with concerns. Please know that I am a daughter, a sister, a mother, a wife, and a board member. The point is that we all wear many hats up here, and sometimes those hats collide. I think we can all relate and be respectful of that without engaging in any harmful speculation. Next, I have a statement to make regarding John Budo. Hold on. And so you notice Mr. Fortunato is not here today, and Mrs. Koulakos is not here as well. Okay, so this is from Mr. Budo. Dear Mrs. LaForgia, it is with great sadness that I must inform you that I am announcing my retirement from the Ramapo Indian Hills School Board. Unfortunately, I am out of town for tonight's meeting, and although it was my intention to make this announcement at our next meeting, circumstances that this board is aware of prevented me from doing so. As you know, it was never my intent to stay the entire year, and I only stayed on to assist you, me, when you became board president. Aside from my normal board duties, my goal for the year was to hire a new superintendent. Dr. Dionisio is a skilled leader, and it is my belief he can bring stability and excellence to the district. This was my last parting gift to the district, but for clearing my name from a frivolous ethics complaint, I would have retired as soon as the ink dried on Dr. Denise's contract. I am proud of my 9 years of service to the students and community of this district. During my tenure, I and those who served with me accomplished many things. One-to-one laptop initiatives. 2, support all teachers' contracts. 3, when state issued additional $250,000 in additional aid, I voted to give the entire amount to the teachers. 4, achieved a AAA bond rating on our bonds, allowing the district to save our over $2 million in interest over the life of our bonds. 5, kept healthy fund balance in our capital and maintenance reserves. 6, completely upgraded and replaced our football fields and stands at both high schools without having to go to a bond. 7, upgraded both boys and girls locker rooms without having to go to a bond. Replaced all windows in both high schools without having to go to a bond. 9, successfully hiring 5 superintendents. These and many other accomplishments are what I will look back on as part of the success of my tenure. I would also like to thank the many board members I've worked with over the years. With you, I wouldn't have been a success. In closing, I would like to thank you, Mrs. LaForgia, for your honesty, passion, and your leadership. I would also like to thank Mrs. Sullivan for her guidance and insight on policy and all things legal. I consider you both friends, and although I may not be sitting there next to you, I will be watching and also always available for a call. I wish the district continued success for the best interests of our children. John Budo. I would just like to add quickly, it was short notice of his retirement. I have just a few words for Mr. Budo for now. I've told this story many times. When I was sworn in 2019, I sat next to John Budo for 2 years, and me being very new and naive, I was mostly quiet and spoke hardly. And now I do regret that we spent 2 years in silence, because I've gotten to know Mr. Budo this year, and he is truly a remarkable person. He has integrity, smarts, and a force to be reckoned with, yet he is also kind and funny, and I will consider him my friend for life. And honestly, I don't think I could have made it this year without his support, wisdom, and his senior knowledge of board process and policy as a 9-year board member. I will miss him sitting next to me, but mostly I will miss how he unapologetically supports what is best in the best interest of our students and stakeholders. They say this is a thankless job, and yet I can't seem to thank him enough. Thank you, John Budo. In respect to that, based on the situation, the board will need to prepare a public legal notice stating the opening of the Franklin Lake seat. There is a 65-day time limit to fill that vacancy. So I will work with Angela and Mr. Lamb's office to get that posting up. Okay. 4, a reminder to the public, board members are also private citizen and as such retain the right to privacy, and they also have the right to bring suit for protection against defamation and slander. So be careful what you say. Finally, in this month's school board meeting notes, Sheila Kennedy, a law professor, states, "We cannot find common ground without civility, and we cannot solve our problems without finding common grounds." And I think she is correct. Therefore, I would like to set a new tone and recalibrate tonight's meeting by reminding everyone that our common goal are the students, period. We do not exist if not for them. And most of the people in those seats out there are students, parents, and caretakers. So I'm asking everyone, including the board members, parents, to reset today for the sake of our common goal, our common ground, our students, our children. Thank you. Okay, that's it for me. Interim Superintendent.
Thank you, Ms. LaForgia. First, I want to wish everyone a very happy Columbus Day and Indigenous People Day. Happy to see everyone here tonight. Just want to go over a few things. I can tell you that the Start Strong assessments have been completed at both schools. If you remember, we had discussed in the past that the NJSLA Student Standards Test was not taking place, or did not take place last year or the year before. And in place of that, they put the Start Strong in. We did volunteer last year to participate in the Start Strong process, so it was not something very new for us. We've been through the process before, and we've gotten there. And actually what is going to happen at our October 25th meeting is that we're actually going to get an opportunity to review some of our standardized test scores. So we look forward to seeing that at the next meeting. Very important, I want you to remember that we do have open houses coming up on the 14th, which is this Thursday at 7 p.m. We will be at Indian Hills. And then on the 21st, we will be here at Ramapo at 7 o'clock as well. These are both in-person, live and in-person meetings for our 8th graders and their parents to come in. I think it's very important for the students and the parents to experience what both schools have to offer, walk around the buildings, listen to the supervisors, have an opportunity to hear more about the curriculum and so on. So we're looking forward to those 2 nights, and we want that to go very well. And of course, if there are any questions afterwards, just don't hesitate to contact anyone in administration, your building principals, my office, Mr. Sutherland, whoever can help in that area will be willing to do so. I'm happy to also announce that we found out at the beginning of this month that Ron Anello, Mr. Anello, our AD here at Ramapo High School, has been selected as the Bergen County Athletic Director of the Year. So we want to wish him luck. And you know, he's got a retirement coming up also in a couple of months. So congratulations to Mr. Anello. We thank him for all the hard work. It's a very tough schedule that we have here in the school district, especially at Ramapo. So thank you, Mr. Anello, and congratulations to you. Also, I want to thank our 2 young representatives for coming in. I did participate in the therapy dogs at Indian Hills on Friday. A little therapy is good for everybody. So that was enjoyable. We had 3 dogs here with their trainers, and that went very well. And then at night, I did attend the senior night for Indian Hills game, and I will get over to Ramapo as well. But it was nice to see all the students in the stands. That was fantastic. It was great. I even brought my 10-year-old grandson along with me, and he had a good time as well. So thank you, and I look forward to coming over to Ramapo as well. So that's just about it for me. Just one more thing. Just remembered, talking about testing, please look for the notices for all the testing that's going on as far as PSAT, SAT, ACTs. It seems that every other Saturday there's another test going on at either one of the schools. So I know students are pretty much aware of that, but if you have any questions, please reach out. Just look online or reach out and make sure that your child is taking the test that they need to take. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any board members have questions for Mr. Rashika? No? Okay, thank you. Tom? Intern,
Thank you, Ms.
Business Administrator.
LaForgia. Business Administrator's Report. Last meeting, we had a presentation about the ESIP process. So after the board's approval, we did advertise the ESIP RFP. We will be doing building walkthroughs this Thursday afternoon with the ESCO, which is the Energy Savings Construction Management Companies. The RFP opening will not be until November 14th, so there is some time. We are still considering other financing options for building improvements, I would say in addition to the ESIP. So we're trying to be open-minded, and we will have more information for the committees and the full board during the rest of October and November. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lamb. Any questions for Mr. Lamb? James? Yeah, come on, please.
Tony, I guess the open houses, it's great that they're going to be in person. I was just wondering, why would they be in person? Back to school was limited to video?
One of the main reasons is the numbers are not quite the same. So it's a lesser, as far as the numbers of students and parents participating would be a little bit less. And also, we're watching the trends now going down a little bit. So, I think it's an opportunity for us to take a step in the right direction and get that moving. And I really feel it's important. I really do. And in every district that I've been in with high schools, which has been most of them, especially when I was a regional high school district where I retired from, the experience for students to see what's actually available in the buildings it's amazing. Because a lot of students coming out of 8th grade, even parents, are not aware of the different things that we offer with technology and the sciences and so forth, and I think that's important for them to see. So, a couple of reasons there. Thanks, Mr. Sedicaro.
Thank you.
All right, so just to reiterate, the incoming freshman orientation are in person, right?
I'm sorry, it's the 8th grade, well, it's the 8th grade.
Incoming.
Yeah,
right.
coming into freshman year in September, sorry.
All right,
Yeah.
just to be clear.
Yep.
All right, anyone else? No? All right, we're off to public discussion on agenda and non-agenda items. Please limit your time to 3 minutes and be conscientious of your time. Be civil. Board members, please refrain from all comments during public session. Follow Robert's rules. Follow the board. Further, the board will not be answering questions directly. We will be taking notes, and if you have if we have answers, we will offer them at the end of public session, or one of us may get back to you as soon as possible. Please state your name and town. May I have a motion to open? Thank you. Tom? Clocking in at 8:23?
8:23.
Mr. Kinney? Mr. Sedicaro?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan? Yes. Ms. LaForgia?
Yes. I'm sorry, clocking in still at 8:23. Okay. Any public?
Margaret Bennett, Franklin Lakes. So the rules and laws matter, and it is not defamation to hold public officials accountable for those laws. Philomena, you have not filed campaign finance paperwork. I put you on notice. I would like you to get feedback from Steve Fogarty. It is an ethics violation for a board member to use district resources to campaign. This includes links to the district website and district documents with teachers' signatures. Once again, there seems to be either a refusal or a purposeful ignorance to know the rules and follow them. To the Flow PDE group, you are in violation of campaign finance law. It is illegal to collect funds for a newspaper ad or mailers for candidates through personal accounts. You are coordinating with campaigns and their principals, which is also a violation. When you decided to collect funds through personal accounts such as Venmo to fund the dissemination of literature for candidates, you entered the world controlled by regulations of the New Jersey Election Law Enforcement Commission. So one could say the disregard for rules is hypocrisy, from grown men tiptoeing their way through parking lots, committing a crime, sticking little coloring project full of hate on car windows, to people thinking they can just campaign and raise money for candidates without following the basic tenets of campaign finance law, to holier-than-thou proclamations that include fake definitions of critical race theory. We need to see where is the motives for the children. Tonight, we will see that. We will see that with which board member respects the Equal Access Act of 1984, which guarantees freedom of speech for students through their clubs and extracurricular. We will see if all of your board members vote to approve all of the clubs and not insert your personal agenda and your personal politics onto the students of this district.
Next.
Hi, Audrey Souders from Oakland. I just wanted you to address under Education E3, if you could explain the update to the Uniform State Memorandum of Agreement between the Ramapo Indian Hills Regional High School District Board of Ed and the law enforcement officials, the revisions that you're voting on that are effective for this school year. And I also wanted someone to comment on E6. I'm just curious, when the new superintendent comes, who's going to be in charge of the special education reforms that are badly needed? There's just, right here, there's so much money that we spend on special education. We're sending 2 students, Paramus High School, $93,000 apiece. I'm just wondering, what does Paramus High School offer that we can't offer here in our school district, and are we going to look at ways that maybe other school districts can pay us $93,000 per student to come here and learn? I was reading through the special education evaluation that was done, and it seems like they're projecting that our student population is going to decrease by several hundred students over the next few years, and it seems like we're going to have a lot of space and maybe resources so that we could become a center where special education students, and we could create some revenue for bringing them here and doing that learning here as opposed to sending them out. I'm also curious, so we have the Learning Clinic, $174,000 for a year. I mean, is that the only option for this student? It just seems like so much money to spend. Obviously, his needs are great, or her needs, I don't know. It's none of my business, but I'm just saying, is there nothing else that we could do for that student? It just is so much money to spend. That's all I really have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Ari Donio, I'm from Franklin Lakes. Thank you for setting the tone, Ms. LaForgia, but I'd like to remind the board, Philip A. Bessler versus Board of Education versus West Windsor, if you're not aware of it. I guess Ms. Sullivan or Mr. Fogarty can explain you the implication of it, as well as New York Times versus Sullivan. It's pretty much stating that we have the freedom of speech to tell you whatever we want, and you gotta take it. Now, having said that, we all seen the letter that was sent from the U.S. Board of Education to President Biden. I would like to understand exactly the relationship between this school board and the U.S. school board, and how it manifests, if and in any way it does. The second thing that I want to ask is these nice 2 students that are here. I know I'm not supposed to address them, but a couple weeks ago I asked Mr. Vishikia if the board or if the school district taught Constitution Day in Constitution Day as it has set within the federal law for all institutions who receive federal funds. This school district does receive federal funds. So I'm asking again, and the 2 teachers here can attest. They can say, when is Constitution Days, right? Do you know it? Lastly, I want to take you a quick back up through time, although we have a missing board here, and that's about Constitution or freedom of speech, which I started by mentioning. When we were talking about curriculum, the board was very happy to allow everybody to speak. They actually enhanced the minute for the public to speak on one meeting. Then when time comes, the board exposed the curriculum. Ms. Caroline, in his speech, while I wasn't here, actually says it was the first time transparency. Thank you, but it's too late. Now we have to open all the curriculum all the time. Then what happened is that 3 members of this board tried to sneak the curriculum, avoiding and not letting the public to speak, although it was agreed that we're going to have another week to see it. And after that, week after, when the curriculum actually did pass on a vote, the board, in a vote of 4, it was Mr. Caroline, Mr. Serchado, Ms. King, and Mr. Fortunato voted yes. Ms. Koulikortis voted abstain, and I think 3 voted no, to give the public more time to speak after the decision. So what happened to the freedom of speech? You didn't want to hear what we have to say about your decision. Lastly, after that, a board member who's not here calls some people right-wing extremists. Shame on you for putting that, and for a board member to talk to the public like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Joel Anch, Franklin Lakes. I want to talk a little about school night. I had emailed Mr. Shika and the Bergen County Board of Superintendent Delicio as well. At my disappointment that it was basically canceled because virtual really doesn't cut it, and there was no science that was based on that. And I also had emailed back and forth with Mr. Shika a little bit about that, and I understand his feelings on what he thought and everything else. And I still don't agree with that. And then I pointed out that they were masked at Indian Hills and no one was there. And one teacher said we had to wear masks even though no one's here. And Mr. Ashika said that was miscommunication. That won't happen tonight at Ramapo. That happened at Ramapo. I couldn't meet any of my children's teachers because I really have no idea what they look like. Again, I don't know why that happened. I understand your thinking with the numbers and everything, but honestly, even in middle school, most people go to back to school night the first year the kids are in middle school, not like elementary school where you go every single night because they get a feel for the school. And then not as many go from the upper classes, and that would be the same thing in the high school. And the most important year to really go is the freshman year. And now you're talking about the experience that they need to have at the open house, which is very important. It's the same thing that you have at back to school night. And a lot of parents, some don't go, some only have one person that goes. You can't really look at those numbers and say how many people are coming, and it still was based on no science. And now you're talking about open house where I went with my wife and both of my children, and only one was coming, and that's 4 people. So you're probably looking at a lot more people I'll be going to that, which is good, and that's what people need to do. And my son made his decision over there, even though he was a year behind my daughter. I'm just not really happy with some of that. I don't like to see also board members putting other board members down and arguing. It's a tremendous waste of time when we could be spending time on other things that are way more important. I also, much to my dismay, the last few times I've come here at night, we have an American flag outside on a flagpole that stands for all types of things that I really don't even have to talk about. And it is not illuminated at night. If it's not illuminated at night, it should be taken down, folded correctly, and stored correctly. I'm not really sure why that's like that. Maybe someone else has no clue, but I really hope that that can be remedied in the future. And I also wanted to say that this past Saturday, we had an event, and a lot of children were there because my son's bar mitzvah from the district. And I did want to say there's a lot of great kids in this town because so many of these kids came up to me and said, "Thank you, Mr. Anch, for having us here. I really appreciate it. A great time." And I was very touched to find almost every single child that was there from this district had nice things to say.
Thank you. And congratulations.
Ardith Cardenas, Franklin Lakes. I was a little disappointed to not see Mr. Fortunato here tonight, and I almost thought I would save what I had to say until he was here, but because some of his comments were brought up, I decided to speak about those as well. And for anyone who wasn't here last week, the last meeting, anyone who has forgotten, I'm going to quote what he said, verbatim. Quote, "If you don't already know my position on a lot of these things, it should be clear now to the members on the left of the audience here, okay, that I do not agree with Mr. Budo, I do not agree with Ms. LaForgia on most topics, and I do not agree with Ms. Sullivan on most topics, okay? They represent an extreme right wing, as do some members of this audience." So I kind of sat with that for a couple days and I thought, what could he possibly have meant by that? So I decided I'm going to look up the definition of right-wing extreme, extreme right-wing, and extremism. So here are the definitions I found. The extreme right wing includes both vigilante groups and political parties that are often openly racist, have clear ties to fascism, and also employ violence and aggressive tactics. These groups may operate either outside or within the realm of electoral policies or both. They tend to oppose procedural democracy. Now here's a definition of extremism. The vocal or active opposition to fundamental values, including democracy, the rule of law, individual liberty, and mutual respect and tolerance of different faiths and beliefs. This is what he called us. Let me assure Mr. Fortunato and those of you on the board and everyone sitting in this audience that we love democracy and the rule of law. We love liberty and we love justice for all, everyone. We love the principle that all people and institutions are subject to law and that it is applied fairly to all. In these meetings, I never hear anyone accusing or using the terms like Republican or Democrat or left or right. That was him that did that. To be clear, the things that affect the children are bipartisan issues and should be of great concern regardless of political affiliation. So am I to believe that he's trying to crush political dissonance by calling us right-wing extremists? By making it political, because that's what he did. The topic of masks and CRT are bringing people together along political lines. So is that what he wants to, why he's calling names? Because he doesn't want that unity? Because he wants to slow the momentum of us attending the meetings? I can't speak for anyone else here, but I can certainly tell you it only strengthens my resolve.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? No.
Hi, Amy Eilert, Oakland. I was also at the meeting last week. I did hear what Mr. Fortunato said. And I also heard the response from other community members that got up to speak afterward, expressing their outrage and disappointment because he was, quote, a Republican. How could he be saying those things? Which is also invoking politics, partisan politics, into this room, into the Board of Education, into the community. So I think we all need to take a breath from that and start focusing on the real issue, which is the children of the district, the health and safety and protection of them, and their right to freely express themselves, which is their First Amendment right. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No? Okay, can I have a motion to close public session?
No one, motion to, oh, we have one more.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry, I apologize.
Hi, my name is Marisol Kozlowski. I'm from Oakland. I actually have a completely different subject to bring to the board. Hope it's a little bit of fresh air. Basically, I have a 7th grader, and I have a freshman who graduated from Indian Hills, top of her class. They are both overachieving students. And we don't often talk about the difficulty and the trials and tribulations of overachieving students when you have the ones that want to pursue education more and more and more. And one of the things that I'm concerned about when I open textbooks and when I look at our curriculum is math, something nobody's been talking about. I'm very, very concerned because our current sophomores are the first class to go through the Oakland school system with Common Core mathematics as a base from first grade on. Our seniors transitioned from Common Core in third grade. When did we all learn multiplication tables? And then they go into high school and they start off with algebra, geometry, trig, and calculus the way we learned, when they have a very, very different base. Not only do they have a different base, they have a completely different vocabulary. We were taught raw education. We were taught skill and drill. We were taught the multiplication table. I memorize it because math doesn't change. They were taught 6 different roads to the same answer. And then they were taught, now you have to figure out which road works best for you and in what situation you should use that. Theoretically, that sounds fantastic. But when they go into standardized testing and are asked the same questions we were asked, the just simple fact of which road do I take to get to that answer takes too much time on a standardized test and slows them down. You can tell that this is happening and this transition is not happening because an entirely new industry has developed. All of a sudden, everywhere you look, there's Hunterton Learning Centers and C2 Educations and Mathnetics or Mathlympics, whatever it is. Most of them focus on math. If you look at the first thing always asked for out of our NHS tutors, it's math. If you look at the list of requests, it's math, 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 chemistry, math, 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 Spanish. It's always math. So if you don't have the money to send your students to get a private tutor or someone else to help them, it's very difficult for your students to succeed. Even my overachieving students, the problem that they have is not knowing what question to ask. And the reason I'm here is because I just got hit with it from my 7th grader. I said to her, how come you just finally did lousy on a test? And she looked at me, she said to me, Mom, I don't know what to ask. And it's that difference in vocabulary. I'm very concerned now that the students coming in have been having Common Core education since the 1st grade. And those NHS tutors, those honor society kids, those overachievers and overperformers that we love and adore, who are tutoring for free and helping the kids that really need and really struggle, I think we need to start being proactive and looking at investing in the math department, helping to train them, helping to give them a little bit of math training so they can transition those kids from a Common Core curriculum vocabulary to a more logical one that we grew up with that they're being tested on, because Common Core never hit the high schools the way we were promised. What was it, 8 years ago, 9 years ago? Okay, so I'm just acting for a little proactivity from the board.
Okay, thank
to talk
you.
to the math teachers. Thank you. And I'm sorry I exceeded time.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else? No? Okay. Could I have a motion to close public session?
Motion to close the public session?
Thank you. Okay, let's go on to,
Yes.
Ms.
sorry.
King? Mr. Kinney?
Yes.
Mr. Sededicato?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. LaForgia?
Yes. Okay, on to open board discussion and agenda items. Does anybody have? Okay. Judy, Ms. Sullivan?
Yes, I have some questions for Mr. Rashiga on the memorandum of agreement with respect to law enforcement. So I did not really understand how this works. There is a website on the State of New Jersey Department of Education page that talks about the Uniform State Memorandum of Agreement between education and law enforcement officials. And it provides for a number of processes that have to take place every year before you re-adopt this memorandum of agreement. For example, you have to meet with the local chiefs. The president has to be informed about how it should be changed. I understand these changes are from 2019, so I don't know why we're voting on them in 2021. The agreement itself is in blank. It doesn't have provisions for the necessary parties. And then I would really like for the public to see the agreement before the board voted on it, if possible, because it does have significant impact to children. For example, reporting, for example, if a child gets arrested off grounds, even though it occurs during school operating hours, the principal will be notified. So I'm not saying I object to any of those provisions. I'm saying that the public really should see the agreement, and I need some assurance that those procedures have been followed as recommended by the Attorney General on the website. I also have some questions about clubs. I don't know if you want to answer the memorandum of agreement question first.
Sure, yeah, let's do that. The memorandum of agreement, oh goodness, this goes back probably 15, 20 years when they started this. It's a template that's actually forwarded to us from the state, and that's how it comes forward. We look at 2019, that was the last major revision put into the document. So consequently, for 2020, we did do this last year. You signed off on it last year. And then for this year, so the only thing that really changed, because the implementation was in 2019, is just the dates. There's really just date changes that are there. So you're looking at the same document that you looked at for the past 2 years. You are absolutely correct. What the intent with the whole memorandum of agreement was to share information between the schools and law enforcement based on situations that involve your students. So it could be something, as you mentioned, you know, we look at some students have some issues perhaps with using drugs, narcotics, whatever the case may be. If there's an arrest made, they share that with the school. The same thing happens if we as a school do something where we're searching for a cause, with a cause, I should say, and we find that a student is holding contraband or involved in some type of activity that's illegal, we have to share that with the police. So it's a back and forth so that we're working together. I can tell you that we do want to do the right thing as far as law enforcement, but we also have to look at ways to protect the student or help the student so that these problems can be reduced or eradicated altogether. So that's basically what we're looking at. So what you're saying is you want to have an opportunity for the public to look at it, that's fine. Then you would have to, are you looking to move it out to the next meeting?
No, I'm not, but I do believe that under our bylaws, we have a requirement to answer questions from our constituents. And for example, I would want to know as a parent that, and it's in the agreement, it's posted online, I'm not revealing any secrets, that the police can access the live stream cameras at any time if there's certain conditions that are met. I would want to know that if I was a parent. Because it has certain implications if your child, especially if you're a disabled child, there's special protections. I just think that they should know. So I don't really have a preference. If you could maybe post the link that's on the State of New Jersey Department of Education website for the parents so they can familiarize themselves.
We can do that.
Maybe that's something that you want to consider.
And that's basically, egregious acts that happen in schools. If it's an assault or something, then the police have the right to come in and view the cameras, okay? So that's where it's at. But we can make it available. Yeah.
So, Dr. Ashika, you have a deadline date for that too? Don't you have to submit?
Well, I think we have to get it to the county office by the 1st of November.
By the 1st. So I did have a discussion with Mr. Fogarty regarding this, so we can table it. I'm sorry, we can table it if everybody needs a little more time to read it. It was 78 pages, but then it will probably need to be passed by the next meeting.
Definitely will need.
I mean, we can discuss that, or we can move forward. Would you be, okay, so it stays on the board packet for now. Okay.
I just had some questions.
Okay.
On the clubs, the RAALC club, there's 2 of them that are defined for each of the schools. The only time that I'm familiar that club met was when Josh Gottheimer spoke to the school last year. Does this club meet regularly? Is it an active club? Do students go to things?
Yeah. First, I wanted to correct one part of that. It takes place here at Ramapo. It's listed twice because there's 2 advisors.
It's listed twice what?
2 advisors.
As 2 advisors. Okay, so it only is at Ramapo High School.
Correct. And I've been told, because I did question this last year, because I think it was May or early June when there was some kind of event that took place here. We had an athlete come in from, a very good athlete come in from one of the colleges. The president of NJSISSA was here for the athletics in New Jersey, representing them. Some of our coaches spoke, students spoke, our former superintendent, Bev McKay, was here. So it was my understanding that they do this every year to share some of the things for the kids for academic side and the athletics, to make that comparison and talk about what the specifications, qualifications are for playing on the next level. I'm not aware of, I wasn't part of this. I was working in my office that day. Josh Gosheimer, I think he was part of the, was it a video broadcast or something?
He was there, yes. He
Okay.
spoke through Zoom.
All right. So, so as far as I know, they come together, they meet with some of the kids and come up with the ideas of what topics they're going to discuss.
So it only meets once a year? Is
Well,
that?
the culmination is the event, that event as we
I
saw.
see.
That's it.
Okay, and with respect to the Democrat Club, the description in the board packet said, the high school Democrats, the advisor is Stacy Anson, who is the head of our teachers union. The Ramapo High School Democrats Club has been at Ramapo on and off for a couple of decades. Their goal is to give students a safe place to discuss their political views as well as volunteer for campaigns, host speakers, and run community service drives. Last year, the club raised thousands of dollars to benefit local women's charities in need of personal hygiene products and clothes. The club also had a number of speakers, including a former Ramapo graduate, who is the main speechwriter for Janet Yellen, one of Biden's cabinet members. So my concern was that, last year, I believe there was a student who wanted to start a Republican club, and somehow or another, the effort got quashed. Is there any chance that we could rename this club so that it's viewed as being bipartisan? So maybe like the High School Democracy Club or something to that effect, so that everyone can feel welcome, and that if we do have speechwriters for Biden's cabinet members, could there be consideration by the superintendent to make sure that balance is brought to the speaking program? Because our board policy does require that if speakers are being brought in, like what happened with Tori Cummings coming in last year, that generated a lot of upsetness from parents because there was only one side that was present at that presentation.
Right.
So is there any consideration that we can give to rename the club so that it doesn't say High School Democrats, or something that's just a little bit more neutral?
At this point, I would prefer to leave it as it is and try to emphasize the fact to students that if they want to start a Republican club, young students or Republicans or whatever the case may be, that takes place. I mean, they all have an equal opportunity to bring different clubs to the administration to be supported. Now, I know you spoke about someone who went ahead and did this and then it was taken off by the principal. But in speaking with the principal, I have to say that the only case I know was a student that came forward looking for support to get students to actually do intern work for, I believe, Republican Club Wyckoff or something like that. And the student was given that opportunity. So
Through this club?
No, I'm talking about a separate student
Oh.
came forward, referring to your statement that we've heard before in regards to a student trying to start a Republican club and it was suppressed or whatever the case may be. So I really, looking at both, I would like to keep the club that's in place and then perhaps have students that are really interested in starting the Republican club for balance to seek an advisor and make that work.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Can I just add to that? I have seen through my son on Schoology that Mrs. Anson does put a statement that welcomes both, Democrats. It's bipartisan.
Yeah,
So
I think she's trying to be fair as possible. It's the
I
name that
understand
people-
that,
yeah.
obviously, by her comment, adding that
Sure.
comment, but yet there's opposition to just renaming it?
Okay.
Or do you know that? I mean, you know that there's opposition to rename it?
Not that I'm not aware.
Oh, but you'd just rather keep it at this? Okay. Okay. Any other questions?
Well, maybe if I
Yeah.
move on, did we address all the questions from the public
Yeah, I know, I forgot. I was going to do it just before we go into the next session, so.
Perfect. I just
yeah,
wanted to make
thank you
sure
for
we-
keeping me online. I just looked down at my notes and I said, absolutely. So sorry, crowd. Well, I promise I'll get back to the answers.
Thank you.
Any other questions on the board?
I just want to make clear, if you don't mind, Ms. LaForgia, that on the clubs, the ones with the asterisks are the new clubs,
Right.
okay?
Right. And then the only other thing that I did talk to you about, Mr. Shika, is that Ron Anello is retiring as of December, so he is kind of footnoted there, but
Okay.
someone will fill that position, I
Fill the
guess.
position, because it is a split position, as I just indicated.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Any other questions on the board packet itself? No? Okay. All right, so.
Motion before we vote on something, right?
I can't hear.
We can make a motion if we're going to vote on something or add something to the agenda. Should we do that now or just wait before we go? Before we vote on the whole
Would you like to add
package?
something to the agenda?
Yeah, I'd like to add one thing. Obviously, Mr. Budo has moved on, and he
Yes.
will not be returning. So what I wanted to do is make a motion to nominate John Kenny to fill his spot as vice president.
Second.
Okay.
Can I be heard on this?
Judy, Ms. Sullivan?
So Robert's Rules of Order, which we have adopted, 56:32, provides that unless the bylaws clearly provide otherwise, notice of filling a vacancy in office must always be given to members of the body that will elect the person to fill it. And we have not provided such notice. Seems like a technicality, but there have been rumors swirling around that the board is, with their majority, is going to try to oust our president, and I'm a little concerned that that would mean that Mr. Kinney would immediately ascend to the presidency. So I'm respectfully requesting that we post this notice and that we postpone voting on this because we will be in violation of Robert's Rules 56:32 if we vote on this tonight, because our bylaws do not have a provision. It just says we have to do it within 30 days, and since we don't have the provision, a notice of filling the vacancy must always be given to the members of the body, and I have not received such notice.
Mr. Lamb? Can you comment?
I would have to review Robert's rules. I can honestly say I'm not familiar with that provision, but I don't
send
see
it to
any
you.
harm in waiting one more meeting before electing a vice president, but really, it would be up to the majority of the board on how to proceed.
It's not up to the majority. Point of order, 56:32 says the notice has to be filled. I'll send you the provision.
Thank you.
So,
How about we go ahead and vote on these
Yeah.
and then for time? Okay, so let's go and
well,
vote.
there's a
on what we-
motion on the table, so we need a ruling from you, Mr. Lamb.
It's not clear to me how much notice needs to be given. Is the motion itself notice? If Mr. Fogarty was here, I certainly would welcome his advice on it.
I'm not ignoring the motion, I'm
So-
just saying that we'll move to what's on hand and then we'll go back. Is that okay? Just to move the
It's-
process?
I think it's probably safer to wait, but I think the majority of the board would need to decide, do they want to take the risk that Ms. Sullivan is right, or be cautious and that she might be right, and wait one more meeting?
I don't think she's right.
Rescind it. I'm gonna
Yeah,
rescind it.
can I just make a comment? I don't think it's critical, to be
Nope.
totally honest, at this point. It's
Okay.
a wait.
Okay.
That would just be my feel, because I don't think
I-
we're going to take any action on this.
Honestly, I think that's best
Let it
since we
pass.
have two other board members not here.
Yeah.
So I think it's
I think that's fine, and then
it's a
that way Tom can
conscientious
check.
effort.
Can I just
Okay.
ask that we notify the board of what Mr. Fogarty finds, please? Tom, if you're going to check with Mr. Fogarty?
Well, yes, I can ask, and it may not matter because the notice, it will be given before the next meeting, but we'll
Thank
certainly
you.
ask so that if this ever happens again, we have clear direction.
Okay,
Okay, so we're rescinding that motion then.
okay. So we'll move
Thank
on?
you.
Okay. So can I have a motion to go to action items? Did you ever change this, Angela?
I think it was the F1 to F10.
For finance?
Does this reflect the change?
Yes,
F1 through F2?
Yes, I told you that.
Okay, just making sure.
You got it.
Okay. Can I have a motion to adapt action items P1 through P20, E1 through E10, OP1, F1 through F2, and OP1?
PO1.
PO1. I always get that wrong. My dyslexia kicks in.
All right, so moved.
Second.
Mr. Carolyn.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Mr. Kinney.
Yes.
Mr. Sedatato.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes, except I'm voting no to P11, the High School Democrat Club.
Ms. LaForgia.
I have to abstain from P11J, and I also vote no to PY. P11Y. And yes to everything else.
Okay.
Okay? Okay, are we good? All right. On to committee reports and comments.
Philomena, were you answering questions or no?
Yeah, I was going to do it just before the other one.
All right, thank you.
Want to go through this and then go through
Yep,
questions?
thank you.
Okay. Committee reports and comments. We have a typical order here, but does someone want to just go first? I don't want to just do the same thing over and over. Okay, John Carolyn.
All right, Education Committee will meet on 10/21, so we'll be taking a first pass at the Start Strong reports. Look forward to that. And also, too, I wanted to congratulate Mr. Anello on his pending retirement and also on becoming AD of the Year. That's quite an accomplishment, so good for him. I did want to also share a comment from Mr. Fortunato that he was not here this evening because he came in late last night from the West Coast visiting his daughter. So he wanted me to share that with all of you. That's it. Thank you, Philomena.
Thank you. Anyone else? James?
The Personnel Evaluation Goals Committee met on Wednesday night, and we have a framework that we're kind of finalizing for the goals that we'll be talking about hopefully next meeting. That's it.
Thank you. Robert's not here. John Kinney, would you like to?
Yeah, for strategic plan, we're trying to find a time for next week. So those of you on the committee, you'll be seeing a note right after this meeting on that. We're continuing to move forward on those pieces as well, and really anticipating not only getting the input from Dr. Sika next to me, but also Rui when he gets here as well. So we'll be able to bridge that gap, being very mindful of it for that. So thanks for everyone for their flexibility around that. Best of luck to Mr. Buto. They definitely were 9 productive years, so I wish him the best. And best of luck to Ron as well. We're going to miss him. He's done a great job for us, so thank you.
He's still here until December, right?
I know.
Okay, just want to make sure. All right.
You can't say thank you enough. That's
Yeah,
the way
well,
I
yeah.
So.
I get it. Thanks until December. I just want to make sure I didn't miss something. Judy or Mrs. King, do you want to go next? No?
Whichever,
Yes?
whoever.
Go. Yes,
So
please.
I am just going to read a brief statement from Helen Coolcortis. Unfortunately, I am unable to attend tonight's meeting because I have been contact traced, and while I am vaccinated and feel fine, I am still waiting for the PCR test results. Therefore, out of an abundance of caution and to keep everyone safe, I will be unable to attend tonight. As far as my committee goes, The Facilities, Road Forward, and Safety Committee will be meeting on Wednesday of this week. And I did attend the first Indian Hills High School PTSO meeting that they had. There is a new president and vice president. The new president is Beth Asgarian, vice president is John Underfer, treasurer is Kathy O'Neill. They are still looking for volunteers. I encourage all of the parents and students to go out and get involved with the PTSO. I myself, with my boys, had a wonderful experience. The PTSO was incredibly generous. All of their fundraising goes directly to the students and the teachers. They have assorted pop-ups for the kids and the teachers as well, and all the staff. And they also give out scholarships at the end of the year. So it's really important for everyone to get involved. I know that APTS as well is very involved. But the Indian Hills High School, they do not have a full executive board yet, so they are still looking for a board secretary if anyone is interested in doing that. Get out and get involved. It's the best way to find out what your kids are doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sullivan, just before you go, can I just make, I thought you were going to make a statement for Helen. I just wanted to say in her communication committee, she has been talking closely with Dr. Denicio, and they are planning a meet and greet for Thursday, October 28th at Indian Hills between 7 and 8. But details are pending, so I'm sure she'll update us as soon as possible. And Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes, thank you, Ms. LaForgia. The policy committee meeting did not meet since the last board meeting. We are meeting this Wednesday. We're going to be looking at policy 2415 on student surveys, policy 8600 on student transportation, policy 8420 on emergencies, regulation 8420.1 on fire drills, and then about 4 other policies, 3221, 3222, 223, and 224, which concern mostly with the evaluation of staff. I also wanted to report that I did attend the Bergen County first in-person meeting since COVID has started over in, I think it was in Teaneck, I can't recall the town, for the New Jersey School Boards Association. I learned a lot while I was there. There were heads of various organizations there. The county superintendent of schools, interim county superintendent of schools, Lou DeLucio, spoke. He was very informative, very supportive of both the parent community and actually the administrative and teaching community. I learned while I was there. Also wanted to advise that I have a couple of questions still that have gone unanswered on the curriculum, Mr. Rashika. I'm just hoping that you can get back to me with my questions, and I'm still looking for those Google forms, if at all possible. I know you're swamped. I'd also like to know, so I can report to my constituents, how much money the district spent on defending Mr. Budo on Ms. King's ethics complaints against him, if at all possible. I think the public has the right to know that. And then finally, I wanted to say to Mr. Budo, I'm sorry you're not here. I'm not prepared to make a long presentation about his contributions to the school because I just found out tonight that he is retiring and won't be here. I'm upset that we're doing it the way we're doing it, that he's not physically here. A volunteer for 9 years. I did a back of the envelope calculation. It comes out to about 1,000 to 2,000 hours of his time. He has a family, and he has been on the board for 9 years. So I just wanted to thank him for the thousands of hours that he has put into being a board member. He's been the chair of the finance committee since I've been on the board. He's super great with numbers and strategy in terms of spending. He can recall statistics like no other math person I've ever met. He is very student focused, which is something that he and I connected on many occasions. And I'm really going to miss his contributions terribly. He was a great advocate for Franklin Lakes, and I hope that we can find somebody who is as equally skilled to replace him. So thank you, John, if you're listening. I'm going to miss you more than you will know. And that's it. Our policy committee is meeting this week, and we will take up those additional policies, and that's all I have to report.
Thank you. All right, let's do the questions from the audience. I'm sorry. All right. One quickly, Mr. Rashika, do you want to address some of the flag,
Sure.
American flag policy? I don't know, or Mr. Lamb?
Yeah, I mean, that's, we're going to look into, I'm
Yeah,
sure Mr.
I
Lamb
figured
will
that
have
much.
maintenance take a look at that. And Ms. Anch, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Just looking through this.
Constitution Day?
I did reach out. There were activities that did take place in the history classes, and I hope to have all that information for you for next time to share some of the activities that did take place. So we'll share that. Also, I wanted to look here, Mrs. Sauter's question on MOA. I hope that what I spoke to Judith about is sufficient on that one. And I can tell you that I think it was E6, we were looking at the cost factor for special education. I can tell you honestly, during my interview process as interim superintendent, that's a topic that did come up with those that were interviewing me at the time. And you know, my experience in the past is running those programs at a regional high school. I like to hang my hat on that because we did it with, in conjunction with an out of regional district, as well as two of the in-district school districts. So we set up different programs by age appropriate for autistic programs. And basically at the regional high school, we ran the high school program. And it is something that can be done here. I really feel it can happen. Certainly I was not in a position to do that over the past almost a year now with everything that we've been facing. But I think that looking at the report, looking and talking to Dr. Dionisio and our administrative team, that is something that we will look at. Again, we will take the small steps first and then look at those bigger issues, because we can, with the right guidance, we can implement some of our own programs. I just want you to be aware that when you see these very high numbers that get close to 200,000, that is something that is typically a school that really just focuses on that one need. But there are plenty of other spots where we can develop programs right at Ramapo Indian Hills. So, and I hope that that's the case. Also,
Mr. Rashika, I just wanted to add that that baton has been passed to Dr. Dionisio. He has that report as well, so I know it's on his radar.
Yeah, he's aware, yeah. Dr. Dionisio, he's on board already, so we're good with that. Go on here. Ms. Anch, I always appreciate your input. You know, we're never going to agree on the back-to-school night, but we want to move forward and take a good look at where we are in the future, and that's why, you know, I took this into consideration looking at the open house, and that's my decision on that one. So thank you for your input. I really appreciate it.
Constitution Day.
Constitution Day, I addressed that one already.
No, we did.
Yeah. And I don't know if I'm going to pronounce this right, but Kozlowski, was it? Coming in from Oakland, yeah. Kozlowski. Kozlowski. Okay, sorry. But I really appreciate your bringing that to the forefront. That is a problem, and that's where we really need to have the articulation between the high school and the sending districts to bridge that gap. And, you know, I hope that in the next couple of months, these things can get back in place and we stop worrying about all the other things that have been brought to the table, and we could look at the educational component of what's happening with our students. Okay, so thank you for bringing that forward.
Can I ask a stupid question? Do the teachers take the testing periodically that the students do?
Do they see it?
No, do they take it?
Do they take it? They might. I don't know. I mean, we don't do it formally. Okay, but they do look through. They do look through the testing.
Yeah,
They
I'm curious that by doing that, they would see what she saw and the kids saw, that there might be obstacles because of that.
But it's just that articulation. You have to realize that what's going on at the elementary level sometimes doesn't fit into what's going on at the high
No,
school level.
I
And that's, you know, it needs a closer look, without a doubt.
All right. Was that everyone? Did we cover all of them? Everybody got notes? Okay.
I think so.
All right, so, back to public discussion. All right, please limit your time to 3 minutes and be conscientious of your time. Let's be civil. Board members, please refrain from all comments during public session and allow Robert's rules. Further, the board will not be answering questions directly. We will all be taking notes. And if we have any answers, they will be offered at the end of the public session. I promise this time. And one of us will get back to you, or one of us will get back to you as soon as possible. Please state your name and town. Angela, can I have, a motion to start public discussion? Angela? Second, who was second? Second, thank you.
Mr. Carolyn?
Yes.
Ms. King? Yes. Mr. Kinney?
Yes.
Mr. Sededicato?
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan?
Yes.
Ms. LaForgia?
Yes. Clocking in at 9:15.
Margaret Bennett, Franklin Lakes. What just happened? Maybe it was a small thing, but I don't know why you just sit there and let one person define Robert's rules, actually revise Robert's rules. Mr. Lamb, there's a book called Robert's Rules for Dummies. I'm not calling you a dummy. It's an extremely easy book to read and a very useful resource that you should have probably at this board table. Any time at any meeting, any board member can put a motion on the floor. And one of those motions at any board meeting at any time can be to nominate a new officer, whether or not somebody has resigned. A vice president and a president can be nominated at every single meeting, quite frankly, as long as you have a motion and a second, and then it goes to vote. So I don't understand why you just sit there and let one person give false information about Robert's rules. I took a quick peek to make sure that I'm right, which I already knew I was right. That is not Robert's rules. You do not have to give notice to nominate a new officer.
Can you address me, please?
And the fact is that sometimes, okay, you can wait another meeting, but actually, it might be a good idea.
You can address me, please.
I can address whoever I want. It might be a good idea to revisit this prior to the next meeting, because there's a lot of conversation between the board president and the superintendent in the next 2 weeks. And learn Robert's rules. And when you know that it's the right thing to do, say it. Just say it.
Anyone else? Thank you.
Aridonia, Franklin Lakes. I'm not very happy with the answers. I didn't get an answer about how this board is related or involved in any way with the U.S. Board of Education, who sent a letter to President Biden regarding asking federal assistance with public comments. I really would like to have a pure understanding, a full understanding of the nature of the relationship between the board and the national organization. Just don't make me write an Oprah request to get everything with NJ, whatever, the USA.com as or .gov, and have me read all these emails. The second thing is I'm very upset also with the answer Mr. Rishiki gave me. It doesn't supposed to take 2 weeks to see if students taught the Constitution Day. It's a very simple survey. Do you know what day is Constitution Day? Have you been taught Constitution Day on that day as the federal law requires? People say follow the law. It seems like we follow the law whenever we feel convenient. It's very upsetting. And people say stay within, non-political lines. But, nobody is blind. Look around. How come there's no answer for that? Unacceptable. Federal law, federal holiday, the most important document ever written since the Bible, and the reason why we all can stand here and share ideas without putting our guns out or our fists out and have a tempered debate. This is the foundation that our state is on. This is why people from all over the world come to here. And you dismiss it like it's nothing. I'll get back to you. What is it? Just take the next minute to think about it.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Kim Anch, Franklin Lakes. I just had one question about something that Ms. Sullivan said, and I just want to clarify. Did you say that you still haven't received any of the Google Docs when the curriculum was posted on the website for parents to review and the public to review? And at the time, I believe you said you hadn't received any of those, so if parents thought that their comments or questions were going to the board members, that they might want to send a separate email because you or the whole board, I'm not really sure, weren't receiving any of those. And I believe you said something tonight that you still haven't received those. So I know the curriculum has already been voted on, and whether or not the public is happy with that, obviously they weren't. But that's 1,000 pages, and I don't know how many pages. I know there were so many people in the public that went through pages and pages of that curriculum and sent in their comments. So even though it's a done deal, why hasn't the board still received those public comments? And was it just Mrs. Sullivan that didn't receive them, or did everyone on the entire board not receive them? And Mr. Sutherland's not here to ask tonight, but is he the only one that has seen these? Because that's unacceptable. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Silva Ortiz Wyckoff.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Silva Ortiz Wyckoff.
Thank you.
There's something that's really been bothering me for weeks. It keeps coming up in my mind daily. And it's the voting back in that English teacher. My child was not in that class, but from what I gathered, there was an illegal survey, there was a suspension. What bothers me more was what he had those students do. These teenagers are so self-conscious already. To make them read in front of their peers that they already worry what they think about them and how to act in front of them, and in front of their teacher, to read those parts that are just, in my opinion, not appropriate in school. But what bothers me more is afterwards to ask those poor boys, how did you feel reading those steamy parts? And then to have 6 people on this board to vote for that person to come back around our children. We have amazing teachers. We have an amazing community. And also for our teachers to have to stand next to that type of, I don't even call it teaching, to ask that of those boys. It's like almost like a predator. It's not appropriate. I don't feel that's appropriate to do to our kids. Yes, though they were not my kids, but all the kids in our community are all of our kids. And I know you're all parents, and you're all part of our community. And I know at one point you were here, us. So you understand the concern. And I want to know from the 6 people, Mr. Kinney, Mrs. Kula-Cortis, Ms. King, Mr. Carolyn, Mr. Fortunato, and Mr. Seredicato, I want to know your reasoning why you voted yes. Because maybe there's something I don't know or don't understand, but it's been weeks and it just bothers me, because you got to understand also in Wyckoff, my child is a sophomore. When my child was a kindergartner, I was already told and warned about a teacher in the middle school. And there's a name, Skeevy Blankvy. We all knew. So as a parent who we've gone through it in our community, this is the worry that comes up too, that we're just allowing maybe the wrong people around our kids. So I just want to know your reasoning to voting yes, because maybe there's something I'm missing. But to say to a child, how did you feel reading those steamy parts is not okay to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else? No? Yes?
Hi there, Amy Eilert, Oakland, New Jersey. I just wanted to comment on the vote that you guys just did as far as the group activities. Ms. LaForgia and Ms. Sullivan just voted no on Democrats Club, which has been around for decades, if I have that correct. And any students that are interested in starting a Republican club are free to do so. They just have to find an advisor. What a great lesson in civics and government to have two clubs that could have opportunities for bipartisan goals, as well as supporting their party's platform. This is the time to do this. We shouldn't have to combine into one because we're name dropping speechwriters for a certain political party. And the public and the community is well aware of what's going on and what's been going on. I agree with starting a reset button. The reset button is started way too late. Anything that you're reading or you have been offended by are things that you have written yourself, Ms. LaForgia. Your quotes, your memes, your tweets. You're a member of the Board of Education. So you are set to a higher standard than the average ordinary citizen. And those feelings that you have every right to as a person. But what happens is they get brought in to the Board of Education where they have no business being. And that should not be tolerated. You guys are here for all students, not some, not most. And us as a community expect you guys to act accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carol Eng from Wyckoff. I'm just have a question. I believe there is and my child does not go to Ramapo, she should go to Indian Hills, but I believe there is a Republican club that's being sponsored by a teacher, by Mr. Huddock at Ramapo, and that's supposed to be for board approval. Is that correct? If you can look into that, since we're talking about Republican and Democratic clubs, I believe there is something that's for approval. If you can look into it, please. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? No?
Hi, Mariana Emila, Wyckoff. It's my understanding that we always had a club called JSA. JSA stands for Junior State of America.
A little louder.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
JSA stands for Junior State of America, which was created by and for young people interested in what happens around them, for politics, to how government works and contributing to their community. It's also been around for a very long time, since 1934. JSA has served as a place where students build leadership skills, learn civil debate, and strengthen their engagement through volunteering and activism. More than 500,000 students have graduated high school as more active, informed members of their community as a result of this participation in JSA. My son was part of JSA. I don't see that club on here, and I was just wondering if it's still exists. He was on it for many years. That club was nonpartisan. All members were, all the students were invited to participate in that. My understanding is that the High School Democrats Club is brand new to the school, because when that came up last year on Schoology, many of the students that were in JSA couldn't understand why there was going to be a new club when they already had a club that all students were invited to. Maybe this High School Democrats Club has been around in the nation, but I don't believe it was here in Ramapo or Indian Hills before last year. It also concerns me that the teacher advisor, I believe, is also the, my understanding, the teachers union leader. And I mean, I don't know, shouldn't the advisor also be, I mean, isn't she supposed to be nonpartisan as well? I just don't understand how she could be the advisor, that's all. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
It's on a different topic than what I talked about, but it would be nice, Mr. Rashika, if you could just explain how clubs work. That any student can start any club as long as they go through an approval process. They find an advisor, they have to meet certain criteria, and then they start the club. We can't change, the board can't change the names of club, and they can't dictate what clubs can and can't exist. So that's the simple answer, Mr. Rashika. It would be very helpful to just explain that to the public. You can't just say, I want this club. A student has to want that club, and then a student has to get the club together by finding an advisor and finding other students who want to participate in that club. That's what the Equal Access Act of 1984 guaranteed them.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Could I have a motion to close public discussion?
Motion to close the public session?
Thank you.
Mr. Carolyn.
Yes.
Ms. King. Yes. Mr. Kinney.
Yes.
Mr. Sotodicato.
Yes?
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
Ms. LaForgia.
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
Comment when you have time.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
know. That's
Now
it.
is okay?
Yeah.
Okay. I looked up policy 0152 on board officers, so to clarify what needs to be done. In the event that the office of president or vice president shall become vacant, the board shall, within 30 days thereafter, fill the vacancy for the unexpired term. If the board fails to fill the vacancy within such a time, the executive county superintendent shall fill the vacancy for the unexpired term. So we have to do it within 30 days, so just so you know.
All right. I mean, I thought that
Yeah,
was.
we're good to go. I just want to let you know.
Yeah, I know. I thought that went well. We actually decided on just postponing it for another time. I'm not sure why, I'm not sure we're addressing that again. Anyway, Google Forms, Mr. Rashika, do you want to touch that?
Yeah, well, the Google Forms actually went into the, did go to Mr. Sutherland, and some administrators got to look at it, and we reviewed the information. The problem we're having is, I have to be honest with you, is basically, if we're sending out a survey from the school, the results are generally populated for the administration and those making the decisions in there. We look at some of the other forms that go out. If the board sends out a survey, typically then the board then can look at that. So I'm trying to get some, I don't want to say legal, I just want to make sure that we're doing the right thing. I can tell you that overall there weren't that many responses that came in. A lot of them, Mr. Sutherland actually met with people, spoke to people, and we'll move ahead. So that's basically where we are right now. And if we can move ahead with that, we will.
For total transparency, I did have this conversation with Mr. Fogarty as well. Mr. Fogarty did release the Google Forms, but I know you had further discussion with Mr. Fogarty as well,
Okay.
with your concerns, so I think we're stuck in a little gray area.
A little bit of it, yeah, that's exactly where we are, unfortunately.
So there is a fluid discussion on it, there's
Right.
just no resolution.
Because what, unfortunately, when you do something, whether it's good or bad, and you start a precedence as moving forward, and we don't want to lose control in certain areas, so we want to move ahead cautiously. But again, we're not taking anything that anyone took or sent in or was responded to from Mr. Sutherland lightly. As I said before, this is an ongoing process for us with the curriculum. We're going to look at it continuously. Certainly, unfortunately, I will not be here that time, but I can tell you that the intent is to really monitor what's going on, get the information across that we need to get across. And again, if there need to be modifications, we make modifications as we move along. So, but again, we will try to get better information on that, is the answer to the question.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Question also was whether or not any board member has seen them?
The answer is no.
No, right?
No?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you.
We never told the public that those would be, there's no notification on there that those would be shared with the public, which I think is some of the issue, right? Or the board.
I know,
So-
John. I know there was no official notification on that form, but I think there was general discussion that that was just another vehicle for parents to provide, and so there was an assumption made that the board members would get that as a vehicle.
Yeah,
But
I
like
think-
I said, we're kind of stuck in a gray area.
Yeah, I
and
think
we'll
the
figure it
challenge
out.
is we set precedent, like, for example, when we ask parents to send in an email before a board meeting, we actually put a notice on the top there that it could be public. So obviously, it's going to be public. So I think that's what some of the issues they're trying to tackle.
Okay, just, again, it's just to notify, it's fluid.
Yep.
We're talking about it, we just don't have a resolution. Mr. Rishika, do you want to do just a broad comment on clubs?
Sure.
We don't have a JSA, I just looked at it, so
Right.
maybe that's,
Yeah, I don't know when that was eliminated or whatever the case may be, but it's
Yeah.
not listed there. I don't see it listed anywhere. Long story short, and I did mention this before, the clubs are always student-generated. So again, the students come up with something that they would like to have. You know, and the latest one that we had was, I think it was a young lady who, you know, was interested in improv, spent some time doing some classes over the summer, brought that up to some other people at school, and then brought it to someone who might be an advisor, and that's how it moved ahead. Other times you might see where a couple of students and a teacher might have an interest, and they decide that they would reach out to other students to see if there's an interest in creating that club, and that's how it works. So there's nothing, you know, to Ms. Bennett's point, that she's right, and I had said that before, is there's nothing that the administration puts up a sign for and says, do you want to join this club? It's all student-generated, and that's basically how it comes out. You know, we look at more the paid positions. When we look at those clubs like student council, those are more the traditional activities that are in probably the majority of public schools. And you would see that. But any of these other pieces are things that are created by the students. And then I think it was Mrs. Eng spoke about one of the clubs. If you can send me an email about that, because I'm not aware of it. All right, so I can look into that. And Mrs. Molo spoke about the other club.
So if that's correct, if there's another club in the works,
It
we'll vote
might be
on-
that it was not brought to our attention
So
at
will
this
that,
point.
if there is,
Mhm.
it will just come back onto a board
We'd have to
packet
put it
again?
back on for acceptance, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, to be approved.
Yeah.
But that's why, Ms. Zhang, if you send me that email, I would appreciate it, okay? I think that's it.
Can you do this just for me as well? Constitution Day again? Did we
They did do
spend
stuff
time on
and there is,
Constitution?
I don't have exactly what took place because it's, you know, schools know that's the thing, and I don't know what took place. I didn't have a chance to talk to the supervisors. I did reach out to the principals, and I sit here, I don't have that information tonight.
Okay,
Okay.
and then the last question regarding US Board, US Board and our boards. US, can't hear you.
U.S. School Board.
U.S. school boards
Boards.
and our boards. I can't answer that.
I don't know anything about that.
Well, we're gonna have to get back to you on that one. I have to do some research. Okay. That's it? Did we get everything? Anybody has everything?
But, I just want, one other thing, and I'm sorry, I couldn't catch your last name, but there was a concern. Again, we talk about the student survey. I just wanted to let you know that everything that we were supposed to do, everything that we could possibly do was put into effect. And that's about as much as the conversation as I can have. And I thank you for being concerned about that, but that's where we are. Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right, anticipated future meeting dates is Monday, November 25th, 2021, regular public meeting at 8 o'clock.
October 25th.
What did I say?
October.
Did I say? Did I mess up again? October 25th, 2021, regular public meeting, 8 o'clock. Can I have a motion to adjourn the Monday, October 11th, 2021, regular public meeting?
So moved.
Mr.
Thank you.
Carolyn.
Yes.
Ms. King.
Yes.
Mr. Kinney.
Absolutely.
Mr. Sotodicato.
Yes.
Ms. Sullivan.
Yes.
Ms. LaForgia.
Yes. And just a quick note, Dr. Dionisio is still planning on being here November 9th. Thank you, everyone.